All right, hey guys. Whoa, what the fuck? Hello. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different, and we're gonna actually talk about Valorant agent design. And I have a whole mess of notes on my other monitor here. So bear with me. I haven't scripted this out or anything. I just have some topics to talk about, and we're gonna use Harbor as kind of the case study for this. With the introduction of Waylay in the most recent patch, people have been talking about how Waylay feels really similar to a bunch of other agents such as Jet, Phoenix, even Chamber, with just basically a mix of abilities coming in together for this one character. And as Valorant gets older and older and more agents are added, this issue is just going to get worse and worse, as you know, we're going to have to reuse abilities here and there, just because that's how this game is going to work. Eventually we're going to have 100 agents, and yeah, some of them are going to look pretty similar to each other. So with this video, I want to try and introduce an idea of how to fix this. And we can use Harbor as the perfect example of this, because we know that Harbor is getting a change sometime in the future. In fact, actually, we thought that it was going to be happening in 10.04 or maybe 10.05. And so we know Harbor's getting changed. So I wanted to talk about some ideas for how to change Harbor and how these changes might help improve the changes for abilities in the future and the introduction of new abilities and agents as time goes on. So first off, let's just get a basic rendition of Harbor. We've got this long wall. You can curve it around, but it's a little difficult to turn. It's a slow turning circle, and it even slows teammates as they walk through it, which is my first change. So we're going to talk about Harbor in two stages. First, we're going to talk about how his kit is now, and how to maybe tune it up a little bit, change it a little bit to improve it. And then we're going to talk about actual reworks of like fully reworking the character, like how Yoru was reworked, like when his clone was introduced and how he got the extra teleport and stuff like that. And that's what we're going to talk about second. But first, we can talk about some really easy Harbor buffs. With the C ability here, the Cascade, all you can do is push it forward and stop it. Let me do that again. You can push it forward and stop it by pressing C again. That's all you can do. With this, I think you could really easily update this by giving it an option like Sage Wall, where you can rotate it before placing it down. For instance, if I were walking this way, this water could be moving with me in this direction, basically protecting my right flank while we scale up, rather than just protecting right in front of you. That would be a really easy rework, I think. And I mean, we already know that we can rotate stuff in the game UI, like Sage can do it. So that's really easy. The second most obvious and easy change is to just stop these abilities from slowing teammates. Like, why does that slow you? Why? For instance, when Neon had her wall right at the beginning, the Neon wall damaged teammates as well as enemies. And Phoenix wall still damages teammates, but that makes a little bit more sense thematically because it's literally fire. So I'm like, nobody really has a problem with that. But with this water ability, I don't think it makes much sense to have a debuff to your own teammates through smokes. Like, I don't really know. I think that maybe could be easily changed. Nobody would complain. I think it's just a quality of life change. The next changes are really simple, just like changing the high tide to last a little longer, or changing the cascade to last a little longer. It already lasts 7 seconds, but why not make it 8? Why not make it 9? That's a really simple and easy change to just buff Harbor in the numbers department rather than any like specific ability changes. Another thing similar to be like increasing the damage that the clove takes. Right now, it takes 500 damage. You could increase that to 550, to 600. Those are just little numbers changes to give Harbor that very slight buff without really changing his gameplay loop. And now for the ult. The ult is actually pretty dang good. I don't think the ult really needs any changes. You could maybe say make it last a second longer or give it one extra pulse, but then I would think you're getting into the territory of maybe making it an 8 cost ult because it already covers quite a big area, and Valorant has talked previously about ults that cover large areas or cover full sites should even cost 9, like Viper ult, Breach ult. I think those are the only 2 9 costs. I know people were thinking like, whoa, why doesn't Fades cost 9? But yeah, so I think that the ult for him is actually perfectly fine. These are basically really easy to incorporate. It'll obviously make Harbor stronger with his set of abilities right now, but the issue is it gives him the same exact play style and gameplay loop, which obviously people don't really like. People think it's boring. That's why he's not picked very often. So we need to come up with something that actually increases his pick rate, not just his win rate. In order to do that, I think we kind of need a rework. For my rework ideas, I think that the high tide stays the same. We can maybe make it a little easier to control. Like you can see here, the turning circle is very slow. You can't make it curve more than this curve here. So maybe a buff could be to allow it to have a little bit more detail and movement when you're placing it down. But other than that, I think it can stay the same. Maybe lowering the cooldown again, but that's just numbers changes, not really changing anything about his actual playstyle. Something that you could actually change his playstyle though is something like replacing the cascade or the cove, where instead of doing a push wall or instead of doing a cove, it's almost like a sage slow area of effect, but instead of slowing enemies there, it's kind of like an AoE flash. So basically anyone in that area gets flashed, or yeah, basically that. So it's just like instead of actually coming up into smoke, it just like splashes water down in an area of effect, like a sage slow or a molly or a deadlock net, and anyone in that area is flashed for however long, 1 second, 1.5 seconds, whatever feels like it makes sense. That could be a way to actually increase his like playability off of his own util, because right now like smokes can help you get kills, yeah, but they're not flashy or they're not interesting to play around, you know. It's a very lurky kind of play style, whereas with like Yoru or Phoenix, you can quick flash around the corner, come out, get a kill while they're blind, stuff like that, where for Harbor you can't do that. So giving him like a flash ability, or even using a flash to set up your teammates. For instance, if we're coming down here, let's say we just push wall down here and we're getting ready to exec onto site, right as the duelist is about to flash through or jet dash in, you can throw this ability and flash anyone right there, or flash anyone in the back halls, giving them that moment to dash in and get the kill. It's a really good way to set up, kind of like a KO flash. You can throw it from far away and it can help your teammates get kills. And that's almost like an initiator ability, but there's a lot of overlap between agents. Like Omen also has kind of a similar deal with his flash. You can flash it through this wall, let your duelist run through, get a kill. But you could flash close here, and Omen could TP out or just peek out, get the kill while the enemy's blinded. So it allows you to play off of your own utility much better than what we currently have. The only issue with that is I really like Cove as an ability. It's very unique. It's kind of like synonymous with Harbor's playstyle. So replacing that really I don't think is an option. And then I don't think you can really replace the Cascade either, because without it, you don't really have the smokes to be a smoke agent. You would need to play second smokes, like with a brimstone or an omen or something. You wouldn't really be able to play Harbor as a solo smokes without that cascade as your secondary ability. So I don't know if that change is really good, but I think it's an option, you know? And now this is where the really big changes come in. But I'm going to actually make a parallel to League of Legends, which is another small indie game that Riot made. A lot of characters in League of Legends have the exact same abilities as Valorant agents. So we've got 3 main abilities. We have an ultimate, and then some characters have a passive, like the jet float, the neon dash, so on and so forth. There's a couple of passives. In League of Legends, they have the exact same thing. They have 3 main abilities, they have an ultimate, and then each character has a passive. But that's not really true. There's quite a few characters that have extra abilities. For instance, Aphelios has one ability that has 5 sub options to choose from. Twisted Fate similarly has an ability that has 3 options to choose from. And one of the more recent characters, Hui, has an extreme example of this, where every single one of his basic abilities has 3 options within them, giving him actually 9 abilities to play with, rather than just the basic 3 of a Valorant agent or most League of Legends champions. I think they're called champions, I don't know. But we can see how there's like options to expand and give more options to characters. And I think that this is a really good way for Harbor to go, or if not Harbor, then other characters in the future. We already see Viper has a fuel mechanic, so I think that we could give Harbor a similar fuel mechanic, or like Viper has 5 stars rather than the regular 4 abilities. We could give Harbor something similar to that, where he has an assortment of options to choose from that can give multiple effects. So for instance, say he has 100 fuel, and you could use 50 of that fuel to make a wall. You can use 20 of that fuel to make a push wall. You can use 30 of it to make a cove, something like that. I think the cove would probably cost more fuel because it's pretty strong, but that's the kind of general gist. So if you wanted, you could make 2 walls in a round, but that would use all your fuel. Or you could make 5 push walls in a round, but that would use all your fuels. Or maybe you could make 4 push walls and a cove, but that would use all your fuel. But that gives you the option of having extra abilities in a sense, and having more options for depending on how your team plays, how you like to play, and so on and so forth. Maybe you like doing ratty diffuses. You can use a cove, get half, and then use another cove, get the other half, while everyone tries to spam you down. I mean, that would be really annoying to play against, but that's just kind of like an example. You could also even give Harbor multiple extra abilities or agents in the future. Like, instead of replacing any one of these abilities with that flash idea, the AoE flash that I was exempling here, maybe you can just give him that in addition to all of these. For instance, Reyna has one ability that does 2 things. She can either dismiss, or she can heal with that single ability. Maybe with the cove thing, you could cause it to make a shield, or cause it to blind people. And you would need to like mess around with the UI. Maybe you equip it first, and then if you see down at the bottom, you have the left click, right click. You can do this or that. You could do a similar thing with the cove, where the left click is the cove, but then the right click is a flash. Or you can even just have some interesting UI, like the iPad kids of Brimstone, Clove, and Teo. Or you can even do like something similar to the Astra, where she has literally like God mode, that she'll see the whole map, and you can place your abilities wherever you want. So we know Valorant is willing to do these interesting changes and interesting gimmicks with UI, with abilities, with fuel like Viper fuel, Astra stars, and everything like that. So we know that there's these options for new ideas and new agents without recycling old ideas. And I think that Harbor's a really great option for this because water, his whole thing is water, and he has like this water creation artifact, and he shouldn't really run out of water, you know, like or his water shouldn't be limited in such a fashion, to only be able to do these three things and then sometimes the ultimate. He should be able to shape that water into doing whatever he wants with it, such as splashing people in an area to blind them, such as just rotating a fucking wall, like Sage. I mean, come on. And that just gives him so much more of an interesting playback loop. Gameplay can be much more fun just in general, and I think that would definitely help his pick rate. But even if none of this happens for Harbor and he just gets some numbers changes, maybe the slow thing, maybe his cascade lasts a little longer, just something like simple like that, I think that this is a really good option for, oh, I made it, for abilities in the future and agents in the future, giving them one ability that can do two things, or giving them one fuel that can do 6 things, or so on and so forth. I think that that's a way that they can take the agent pool in the future, and I mean, they've already done it in League of Legends, so they know that it's an option. And yeah, I think that would definitely create some more options for agents in the future without getting static, without getting characters like Waylay that is just a jet dash, Phoenix ult, chamber TP, breach ult that's called hinder instead of stun, you know? And that's my ideas, and I hope you enjoyed.